Namo Fulokosa, Namo Fulokosa, Namo Fulokosa. Consciousness. Today we begin the celebration of our ancestors. This marks the actual 23rd celebration of the ancestors since the Blue Mountain Lotus Society Dragonfly Sangha began. And this is our 15th year here in the House of Meditation in Harrisburg. I'm glad you were able to be with us. In the name of the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha, let us celebrate. We now make this humble offering, our flags of gratitude and love. We send them forth, a bridge unto that other shore, the veil between us illumined by immeasurable light forevermore.
May our noble lineage of awakening endlessly endure.
Let us recite together the Heart Sutra. Our true self, when practicing fearless self-examination and mindfulness, discovers that our beliefs, character defects, and diseases are empty and without any true existence. Our true self, understanding this reality, awakens our conditioned self through suffering and ego deflation to the clarity that the form these things take is no different from their emptiness. Only our perceptions, which divide experience into this and that, good and bad, self and disease, empty and not empty, make it appear otherwise. All things are clear and exist like space. They are potentials activated only by our minds. They cannot be created or destroyed. They are not good or evil, and they do not increase or decrease. There is no delusion to be lost, and no knowledge to be gained, no obsession or compulsion, and no perfection, as well as no end to them, until we admit our powerlessness. There is no path, no program, and no practice to follow. There is no attainment because there really is nothing to attain. In our true selves, there are no obstacles and no fears. Transcending all dualistic beliefs and all native conditioning, one recovers from one's true self as having always been complete and knows that there was never really anything to recover. All is well. Therefore, you should know the truth of the recovery of the true self, the truth which teaches there never was a truth to be found, the truth which teaches that there never was a truth to be lost, the absolute and relative truth, the truth which is the only affirmation, against which everything else is denial, the truth you've kept from yourself for so long, and which you can now admit. True self, I know you now, gone, gone, gone to the other shore of unity, wholeness, and love. Gone, gone, always going on to the other shore, beyond the sea of denial and dysfunction, awake in the place never left. Completely awake and gone from suffering, completely gone. Beyond the shore and the farthest shore, beyond the beyond, where there is no beginning and no end. Without fear, go. So be. We will now do the blessing of the flags. If you've made a flag at home, please lift up your flag at this time. Namo Jizo Buza, 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 Namo Jizo Buza. Now we're going to have a brief Dharma talk. So, one of the questions that comes up during this time of year is, why do we honor our ancestors? And what does it mean to be an ancestor? Who is an ancestor? So let me address the first one. Why do we do it? Today's culture seems to worship at the feet of youth. We all recognize it every day. And in some ways, it's a very unique phenomenon for our species. It certainly isn't the way that folks did it in the past. But today, our system is built on this idea that our worth and value is created out of the things we can produce. Once we can't produce anymore, we're not worth very much. In ancient cultures, ancestors were venerated. And this type of veneration goes back as early as humans began to observe and practice. And why is that important? The reason it's important is that because no one is going to not get old. Everyone, if they live long enough, is going to get old. Societies, cultures, if they live long enough, they get old. And the wisdom of the ancient forebears, our ancestors, was that it was very important to hold up and lift up our elders, and to remember those who have died and those who have passed on, and continue that relationship. To not see that relationship that ended with their death, but a relationship that continues on in a new way. Sometimes a way that's even less fettered by our egos. And it helps us to hold up a culture that says your worth and value is not based upon the things you do or the things you have. Your worth and value is based on the belief and understanding of the inherent Buddha nature of all beings and all things. And it's from here, from that place, we move forward. I often say to folks, now that I'm playing the back nine, as people say, that it's not so much about aging, but it should be about saging. And that brings us to the second question. Why is it important? Because our ancestry goes back way beyond the human species. Probably one of our most ancient ancestors is the great star that went supernova billions of years ago, spilling itself forth into the universe and beginning what would be our journey. And it's also important because we are the ancestors of those who are coming after us. In fact, the word ancestor basically means to go before, not unlike Sensei. And it's important that we really pay attention to that practice. And I will say this, if we only provide our children with ideas of doom and gloom, then we're going to set them up for a life of anxiety. And when a person is anxious and afraid, they're not creative. They're not looking for solutions anymore. They're only trying to figure out how they might survive in that kind of scenario. We have to stop that. We have to stop laying the burden of the future on our children. The future is each moment as it passes. And rather than closing ourselves off with fear and anxiety, we have to open up our minds in ways we can be creative and learn to deal with whatever life brings. Because there are no guarantees. From one generation to the next, each generation has its own stuff, its own things that it must deal with. But if we take refuge in our true selves, that our self-worth is something inherent, that our dignity is not something that we have to gain, and we stop using fear, but rather open up the wonders of creativity, there are only solutions. Like the old journey song, there are only solutions. So venerate your ancestors, honor them, because someday you're going to be one. Be the kind of ancestor that your children will venerate. We're now going to do something traditional that's done at Obon, and that is the Bon Modori Dance. So my beautiful wife has agreed to lead us in that. So if you at home want to join us, you can. It's going to be very short. We're just going to do it here very briefly. I'm going to follow my wife and follow her movements. Because it's recorded, if you really dig it, you can do it more. But that's a traditional thing to do. The story of Obon is based on a disciple of the Buddha called Moggallana. And Moggallana was someone who had very powerful abilities, psychic abilities, because of his practices. And his mother had died, and he saw that his mother, because of her own stuff, was still trapped and caught in an in-between realm. She had become a hungry ghost. And so he went to Shakyamuni and said, how can I free her? And he said, well, the easiest way to do that is to show generosity. And so he said, give to the Sangha, give to the order of the clergy, celebrate. And these good works, these good intentions, if we connect those to your mother, this will free her. So he did so. And because of these psychic powers, which the Buddha also had, he was able to see that his mother was freed from the hungry ghost realm. And so she was able to join him in this realm. And they danced with joy. So that's where the Bonodori Dance comes from. So, if you would, facing that way, help us begin. And why don't you stand right here, and I'll stand right here. My wife was a little bit nervous about that. I asked her this week if she would learn a Bonodori dance, and she did so well. Thank you very much. So now we're going to make an offering of incense. Please do so and observe at your own home altars. And we're going to chant together the Heart Sutra, our version that we sing. So Let us begin with Osho Evan, if you would begin with offering of incense. Gate, gate, pere gate, 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 bodhisattva, gate, gate, pere gate, pere samgate, bodhisattva, pere samgate, bodhisattva. Gate, gate, pere gate, 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 bodhisattva, gate, gate, pere gate, pere samgate, bodhisattva, pere samgate, bodhisattva. Gate, gate, pere gate, 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 bodhisattva, gate, gate, pere gate, pere samgate, bodhisattva, pere samgate, bodhisattva. We're now going to, again, this is a little different with no one here. We're going to do the birthday cake. And let me add just one other thing. People ask me, how can I venerate the ancestors? Well, one is by observing this celebration in Obon. The other is by, in your own home altars, having photos or pictures or some kind of object that for you represents that ancestor, and keeping that near your centering space, your Butsudan, your home altar. And by doing this, you keep that person in mind all the time. And like I said, the relationship continues. It continues on. One of the favorite practices that my wife and family and I have is to go to the grave sites or memorial sites of ancestors, family members. Go to those sites, care for them, clean them, put fresh flowers, show that veneration and respect. Do this so that when you are the ancestor, this practice will continue. And the thing that's so beautiful about it for me, as I mentioned in the brief talk, is that wisdom and that relationship that we have with those ancestors doesn't end at death. My son and I right now are watching a TV show called Cobra Kai, and it's the continuation of the Karate Kid series. And there was a scene in one episode last night where Daniel-san goes to the gravesite of Sensei Miyagi and speaks to him, and he hears his voice give him wisdom. That's exactly how it works. That's exactly how it works. So I encourage all of you to do that. We're now going to celebrate what is actually the officially 23rd birthday of Blue Mountain. Now, I began offering precepts and the foundations of our community while I was still living in Massachusetts. And then when we moved here in '98, we began the community here, and I think '99 we called it Blue Mountain Lotus Society. We're now using the expression the Dragonfly Sangha. And it's been 15 years here in this temple. So it's been wonderful. And I'm so grateful to everyone that has helped me to realize the dream of bringing a little piece of the true country here. So, will you help blow it out? Sure, sure. Shall we sing?
Definitely.
Happy birthday to you, happy birthday to you, happy birthday dear Blue Mountain Lotus Society Dragonfly Sangha. Happy birthday to you and many more. Yes. So I'm sorry that you can't be here to have a piece of cake. No, I really am. But it also means that I get to have more cake. So I promise that I will eat a cake for each one of you. Give you my word. We don't want to drop the cake. Then it'll end up on YouTube. So Becky, you would join me, Evan, if you would join me. So from my family to yours and to all the families of our Sangha, blessings, blessings. Have a beautiful day. I'll now close the space.